Welcome to the Art of Becoming Unstuck podcast with me, Elizabeth, and we have Jonathan and Beth, and we are all certified Rise to Realize life coaches. And we also have Arda Ozdemir, who is the founder of Rise to Realize. He's a spiritual mentor, and he is also an executive life coach. And today we are gathering to talk about holidays, holiday stress, holiday joy, and what goes on during the holidays. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll be moderating. So let's talk about this. What are the stressors of the holidays? Who wants to begin? Stressors of the holidays.
I'll go first.
Oh, Arda, good.
Yeah, I'll
let's
go first.
Okay.
Just like meeting the family members that you don't want to meet. And because it's holidays and you are just forced to get together with other family members that you do not care to see or talk or interact. So I think that is probably number one. And then a lot of arguments, right? That you know, you want to just spend some time, and then somebody says a political somebody makes a political comment, or a sports team, a particular player, or this and that. So it just like it gets really what's the word, contentious.
It becomes very contentious, right? And John or Beth, can you relate to what Arda just said? Like during the holidays, what's the thing that you dread most?
Beth, I'll let you start.
Oh, that I dread most. Well, I mean, it's evolved right now. I just dread packing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in the past, and I want to continue with your conversation, Arda, but for our family, I mean, politics and those sort of discussions don't really seem to be an issue. We seem to be all on the same page. But I was talking to a friend and she was really worried. She has young kids. There's two different camps in their house, and she, beyond the tension and the discussion about the different political views, she was worried about her kids having to be around the arguing and that. So I can see for some families that would be a big concern.
And John, what are some of the issues that you, and we'll come back to Arda, and then we'll come back once we get this list going here.
No, you take what Arda said and you multiply it times 100, right? And that affects that's kind of my immediate family. So, you know, we've consciously decided to not spend holidays together, and that's worked out. But then I spend the holidays with my in-laws and with my wife's family, and they have a big family, and that one happens to be very drama-free and go with the flow, and it's actually enjoyable. So yeah, I guess I'm avoiding the contentious holiday and really siding towards the drama-free version.
So Arda, why don't you talk to us a little bit more about, you know, you don't want to, I mean, let's say you just don't want to see your relatives. You're like, oh, this year would be so great if I didn't have to go and see this relative and that relative. And what are we going to talk about? What's the mindset that you have when you go into these kind of holiday festivities? It's like it can be a real downer.
It could be, or I mean, there are some families, so let's not disregard these families. Like John was alluding to, there are, you know, some families drama-free, and holidays are a festive activity gathering for them. So what we are talking about is the other ones who actually experience stress and experience these arguments. So the mindset is actually that fear of running into someone that you don't like implies that there has been some background, right? So some past event where some entanglement happened in the relationship, where they think in their heads that the other person doesn't like them, they judge them, they don't want to see them, so therefore they're basically stressing out. And also as a defense mechanism, they don't want to see them because they think that they are not welcome, they are not included. So therefore there is a big tension, elephant in the room, usually in most of the holiday parties.
And the other thing, sorry, I just wanted to
No.
highlight that you made me think of, Arda, is even in my own family, I have 3 kids that are mostly grown, and 2 are out of the house. And there's a little bit of tension because they've sort of experienced a little independence and sort of been, a little bit on their own, and then they're coming back into our family and, feel forced into some old roles that maybe they had as a child. And part of them, they feel like I'm beyond this and I'm a different person, but now I'm back in this old family dynamic, and I'm fitting back in my sort of my space that I grew up in, and that probably feels a little uncomfortable for them in some aspects. So that's sort of we experienced that a little bit over Thanksgiving, and I anticipate more of that over Christmas, and having the kids kind of navigate that.
Beth, don't you feel like, or don't you ever feel like when you go back home, you become 13 again? Even though I'm like, oh, I've grown spiritually and I've done so much, and then I go back home and I fall into those same patterns. How do you avoid that, man? I'm 13 again, and I'm like, where'd all that wisdom go?
Right, for sure. Good point, because I don't go home as often, but I'm sure I'm stepping back into that role as well, and seeing my kids do it as well, and break some of those cycles, right?
That happens to me every time I go back to Turkey. Everybody treats me like, I don't know, even before I left Turkey, I left 26, and they treat me like, 12-year-old. I'm going like, here we go, I'm 55. Do I need to take a cab? Do I need to walk? Do I need to go this place and that place and watch out for this and that and wear this, wear that? And it's just crazy. I mean, I cannot imagine.
Well, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that onslaught of you're 13 and I'm your parent or your bigger sister or whatever? And can you rise above, or do you just fall into that?
I mean, a lot of arguments first, because it's just resistance, right? You wanna kind of protect your boundaries. So therefore, first you emotionally react to it naturally, right? Hey, just get out of my space, get out of my business. I've been living by myself. Thank you very much. So I'm 55. So back off. And then once I actually threw a cell phone to the couch, instead of throwing it out of the window, which would have caused me more trouble. But I just lost it. So these things happen. But the thing is, if I were a little wiser, I would have maybe used a little bit more I feel statements, maybe a little bit more curious, open-ended questions to get, where my mom was coming from, where my dad was coming from, my aunt, my uncle. It is kind of, they were making some random comments, but I was the one who was taking them personally.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think Jon said before our call, we were discussing this, it just like, bring them, oh yeah, interesting point. Yeah, I might wear that and that could keep me warm, but I might choose not to. Oh, we'll see. I don't know, lot of strategies that we can use, but it's all about boundary setting. And I think when we bring the past stuff into like behaving like a 12, or they are acting like I am 12, we are bringing that entanglement back into the current moment. And it is an opportunity for us to really stand up and put our foot down and set our boundaries for once and for all. Again, like 12, 55, like 43 years later, I should be able to, put my foot down with some I feel statements, open-ended curious questions, some Aikido techniques, some collaborative whatever we have for communication strategies.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions here. So I feel a lot of people use I feel statements. I feel you are being too bossy. So how do you make an I feel statement without getting the other person defensive? Like, It's so hard. Like
You have to leave out the you part of the I
Yeah,
statement.
I know. I feel.
Exactly.
do
Let me
that.
ask that to John. Like, John, why did they get defensive, you think, in that statement that Elizabeth is saying?
Because by saying you're labeling them, you're judging them. Yeah. So
Yeah,
So how do
exactly.
you say it differently?
well, it's hard because you have to do something called looking inward, right? And
So,
I mean, you can tell 100 people to look inward. Maybe you're lucky you'll have one do it, but that's what we're here for, is to inspire everyone to look inward. But and I think also, so to be able to say, I feel disrespected, I feel not,
Oh,
feel dismissed. You aren't giving anyone else you're not labeling them. You're not telling what they did. You just say how you felt, right? And your
And
feelings
it's,
are
John,
not.
I just interrupt you real quick. Like, I feel disrespected when you have to avoid saying when you say whatever.
exactly.
When you have to say, I feel disrespected when my choices are questioned. So you have to
It's a
to
lot
kind
of
of then
thinking.
make it a real general, more general.
Or you put the
statement.
scenario in a we statement. But hey, look, I know that we had this altercation. We had this altercation just now about that topic. So there was no you. And in that scenario, I felt disrespected. So then you can still tie it back to the situation, but make it feel like it was a situation you guys were in together versus that was a situation that you did and you said that and blah, blah, blah.
and how about putting the period right after the I feel statement? So like, I feel disrespected. Right now, I'm feeling disrespected.
Yeah.
Period.
Well,
The key, I mean, these are great points. The key, in addition to what you guys shared, is being matter of fact, right? So when you are matter of fact, your feelings are matter of fact. These are things that you feel and they are not negotiable, right? When you own them, you are not really going into anybody else's boundaries so that they are not getting offended. You are not attacking them. You're not defending yourself, because every time you defend yourself, it becomes an attack to the other person. So you enter into their boundaries. You invade their personal space when you are defending yourself, because you are accusing them, you're labeling them, you're judging them. So when that happens, they feel attacked and they attack you. Most of the arguments start with that, they end with that.
So I had a situation. What would you do? So I feel very disrespected. You feel disrespected. I feel even more disrespected. Then what are you supposed to do?
Then you can switch, because here's the thing. You already expressed that you felt disrespected, and the other person takes offense on that, even though you are not defending. So they are using that as an attack. No, I felt disrespected more. So therefore, they kind of want to be heard. So if you are really in that self-mastery state, okay, it is, again, it comes after spiritual awakening. It's a very high level vibrationally. It's a very high level consciousness. If you get into that self-mastery, you forget about yourself. Okay, so you already express yourself. You said, I felt disrespected. And then somebody says, no, I felt more disrespected. Then you may turn around and ask an open-ended, curious question. And you can say, oh, you did? Can you tell me more? And that is going to get them talk more and more. And then in that talk, you might get attacked. You might say, they might say, you are always doing that, because they probably haven't studied these 9 communication strategies or Rise to Realize Power method, right? So they are attacking. They're saying, you know what, you always do that. You always disrespect me.
Were
And
you in my conversation with my sister-in-law a few years ago?
I mean, probably as we are
You were a fly
speaking,
on the wall.
this conversation, this particular conversation is happening probably a million places in the world right now. So, and then what you're gonna say is that, okay, tell me more. And then you might even say, what did I do? And then they will say, and then, you know what? I did that. And it is disrespectful. I mean, if you agree, or maybe you slightly agree, disagree, I mean, give it to them, hear them out, and then you might go to that collaborative we communication strategy where you can say, okay, how can we develop a deeper connection going forward? How can we avoid this again? Or how can we resolve this miscommunication going forward? So would you agree? So, I mean, I had these conversations with people before, and then you just kind of like, okay, be very open and honest with me. When I disrespect you, I expect you to tell me that you feel disrespected, and I'm okay. I'm gonna honor it. I'm gonna be open and I'm here to hear you.
Excellent.
What will happen? You think, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
Ultimate
that what
weapon.
happened, Beth, with your sister-in-law?
I hadn't had yet the wisdom of
Honor.
artists.
The honor to
Arda becoming unstruck. So it was another level of my mastery. So
Okay,
yeah.
Let me
try
give you
again,
before,
right?
sorry, interrupting before you guys jump in again. So the thing is, I think what the message here is no matter what the other person is taking or perceiving or attacking or defending or accusing or labeling or judging you with, no matter, can you actually take back all of that energy, ground it, and then be matter-of-factly to put your foot down, to set your boundaries, okay? And feel that it is in your power to change the dynamic of the relationship. Disentangle whatever has been entangled in the past. Do you feel that you have that power? Again,
Yeah,
can
I
you
would say
keep
I don't have the power to change her. I
No,
can only change myself. The other thing I'll throw out there, which has been helpful for me to think about, that all experiences are successful. So just think about each experience we have is a growth opportunity or a growth experience that is enabling the next thing. So even if a conversation or something on some level doesn't feel like it went well, just know that at some level it was a success to build upon for the next conversation or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. So Arda, you had said something about Aikido, and before we got on, Jon was talking about Aikido as another communication strategy. Jon, do you want to take that on, kind of explain what that is and how we can use it?
Well, yeah, but before that, I'd like to kind of bring up probably a scenario that all families are going to deal with this upcoming holiday is this question for the team. It's like, so how do we deal with, let's say in-laws, especially in-laws making passive aggressive comments, right, about their kids or their son-in-law or daughter-in-law, right? I think that's very common. So I guess let's say like you're in a room and your mother-in-law, let's say maybe your kid's having a tantrum or your kid's just wearing something that your mother-in-law disagrees with, and you hear your mother like, oh, interesting, wow, it's been a whole year since last Christmas. I guess he hasn't learned a thing. Okay, moving on. And no, right, like, wow, really, that's interesting. So you're gonna take a dig at my kid like that.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
what do we do in that scenario?
The way you said it was really funny, but it's really, if I put myself into that situation, that's tough because right away I feel triggered.
Yep.
Right away. Jon,
Those
what did you do?
comments is just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, how would you respond, Arda? I'm just curious.
Jon needs
Yes,
this technique. Jon needs this answer for in a couple of weeks. Okay, so what would you say, Arda?
I mean, do you have that courage? Again, back to that. Do you feel that you can be grounded and centered enough and call it out? because again, it's a passive aggressive, and it's a dig, it is a kind of an attack, an implied attack and a disguised attack. Can you, stand up for yourself and say, you know what does that mean? What did you mean by that comment? Call it out. The other thing is saying that, oh, I heard you say that I haven't changed for last year, and it's just like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I have not, and I'm happy with that. Again, owning it. What the whole message here is that owning your own stuff, right? And then standing by it and not giving your power away to the other person.
So, but
Avoiding
Arda,
a
what if it's his
conversation.
kids that the mother-in-law saying, well, I guess he hasn't changed in the last year, like his child hasn't matured at all. I mean, you're taking his child that hasn't changed, the mother-in-law is commenting on it, and then you just feel like you're defending your kids and your parenting style.
I mean, okay, I was more putting myself in the kids' shoes, but the mother also can say that, yes, because again, if you have a doubt about your mothership, about your motherhood, about your skills, and you are thinking that entanglement from the past, the mother-in-law always criticizes you, you feel always not good enough in her presence, then that kind of passive-aggressive remark will put you on defense again. And what we are trying to encourage our listeners to do is take the hit, inhale, exhale, release it, ground yourself, center yourself, and neutralize your energy. And again, this requires some training, obviously, and it cannot be done that easily by just listening. However, it's the idea to practice here. That's what we are sharing and why we are sharing it. And then just owning it. And yeah, funny you say that. Yeah, I noticed that he has not changed.
Well, also what you sort of said is it's bringing up some sort of fear for you as an individual. It's triggering you, right? So if you didn't have that fear that you felt like your kids weren't a certain way or whatever, then their comment wouldn't trigger you. So it's also an opportunity, I think, for you to, or for us, all of us, to do some little self-exploration and say, okay, what is getting triggered here for me? And like we've talked about before, and the art of becoming unstuck has a lot of strategies to work through those triggers.
Yes, and that's the opportunity, right? That's the opportunity to enhance or increase, deepen your self-awareness. Oh, I'm getting triggered. Why? Because I'm having carrying this chip on my shoulder. I feel not good enough in her presence. I feel always criticized. I'm always invisible. I mean, she's making a off the cuff comment like that, passive aggressive, completely ignoring my presence, completely ignoring her presence, and it is pretty tough.
So how would Aikido, I think we kind of talked about the Aikido in this situation. Can we define that even clearer with this situation? Aikido would be saying, well, how would you do that? What is Aikido and how would we use it in this situation?
Oh,
All right, Jon, you're on.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, Aikido is just kind of an analogy, right? Like Aikido is a martial arts that's very, you're using your opponent's energy against themselves, right? So you're not attacking back like in Taekwondo. You're not a kickboxer that's kicking, who can kick the hardest. Someone's running at you with a punch and you're grounded and you're centered. You've taken deep breaths. You've done some self-reflection between the holidays. So you're coming into the holidays well-equipped, and boom, mother-in-law comment, an annoying sibling rivalry comment, and okay, well, you handle it matter-of-factly and you kind of diffuse it very easily and defend. And then so basically you get you're using their power against them. And so in terms of actually how to use it practically with communication, which is all kind of boils down to, right, during the holidays, all these things are themed around communication. The easiest way to put it is to respond without emotion, right? Removing all the past baggage and past history that comes in with that individual, or with that family member, letting it all go and treating it as that present moment, and just responding very matter-of-factly with very few words as possible without any labeling or emotion. So I think Arda, the perfect example of that is like someone says something, okay, well, what do you mean? Right? What do you mean? That's just 4 words, right? Instead of saying, how dare you say that right in front of me? That is so rude. You are ruining this holiday. Now you went on to a 100-word argument. That's the theme of all holidays that we're talking about this, right? But can you take the power back and stay grounded with 4 words that will completely change the dynamic, right? I think that's what we're trying to inspire people to do here.
So let me give you a quick example. Beautiful, John. I think exactly that's the Aikido.
Nice.
And in 4 words, you can take the power back. If you are not hooked into the argument, if you are not hooked, if you don't take it personally, obviously that is the initial part. And then absolutely the Aikido, this disarms everybody. So I'm calling my aunt, okay, after a long periods of silence, and I just say, hey aunt, this is Arda, I'm just calling to say hi. And then she just lays onto me, just like, I can't believe this, you never call, I've been waiting for your call, it's been 9 months, you know, we had a great time when you were in Turkey, I can't believe this, you ignore me all the time. I said, hey aunt, I'm just calling you right now. So if you want to talk about the past, I gotta go, because I don't want to spend time on dwelling on what happened, what didn't happen. I didn't have time, I got busy, whatever. I'm not going to give you excuses here, but I'm here right now. Would you like to talk? Because I called you to talk, right? It's like, how are you doing? Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, put my aunt down. And obviously,
No.
she loves me and she wants to hear more from me, right? But at the same time, no need to kind of like put me down that I haven't called you. I'm not feeling guilty because, you know, the opportunity didn't come across that I had to call her before the time I called her. Right? I'm not feeling guilty. I'm not feeling anything. So I'm there neutral, and I'm saying like, okay, you know, if this is gonna be that, I'm out. Like maybe we should talk another time.
You really set your boundaries there, and it worked. It changed everything.
Change.
Mhm.
That's what this is all about. Setting your boundaries, standing by your actions, by your feelings, and being matter-of-factly. Again, if you can, on top of that, neutralize your energy a little bit through grounding and centering, through inhale and exhale, releasing that chip on your shoulder or that tension in your stomach, I think some miracles to be experienced over the holidays.
And do any of you guys ever, if you're gonna be seeing a difficult person over the holidays, do any of you guys take a moment to sort of say, what am I grateful for in this person, even if it's hard to find something that you are grateful for, and just sort of put that in the forefront instead of, I'm dreading seeing so-and-so and they always talk about whatever. And anyway.
I actually just mentally prepare some I feel statements, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. For me, I'm sorry to say that. I mean, I'm not sorry. I'm just gonna say, but it's just that gratitude doesn't work for me. To me, gratitude doesn't set the boundaries. Gratitude, I think, if you are getting triggered and you're kind of going into the gratitude, I think it's a coping mechanism sometimes. So we need to be careful, like how we are using the gratitude. If something bothering us and somebody is pushing our boundaries a little bit and then putting us on defense, and we are using gratitude, that could be borderline defensive or coping mechanism. Be careful.
Yeah. Good point.
So we're coming to the end here, but I want to know, so before you go into this holiday season before you go into a gathering, how do you ground yourself? What are some thoughts or practices that you use to ground yourself to go into this, to have a nice holiday, but to just stay grounded and not fly off the handle and not get triggered?
No, great question. At least for me, I think the obvious ones are taking a deep breath, but for the ones that for me, I think are very good proactive measures it's kind of what we call the self-observation meditation. So basically just, meditate and kind of, and I'm using my thumbs as kind of my anchor or focus, but I find that at least when I'm doing that consistently, when I get into those scenarios, I actually will notice that my heart doesn't start to, beat heavier. My heart's at a steady rate, despite I know that this thing in the history has made me very triggered. So then I just literally feel calmer and more grounded, and I can actually consciously think of some of these Aikido or statements or boundary setting. So, I mean, at least for me, the meditation is the most life-changing tool for these things.
Nice.
In addition to the breathing, the earthing, grounding.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier when we were before the call is I love the technique of setting an intention before you're going into any sort of gathering. So how you want to feel, how, maybe you have trouble like me, small talk and big gatherings. And I was like, okay, I have an intention to have a meaningful conversation with another person at this party, whatever it is for you, or I want to feel calm, or I want to have like the time of my life at this party, whatever, just to set your own intention on how you want to feel and how you want to maybe navigate that space.
Arda?
Nice.
That's nice stuff. Thank you.
Very nice stuff. And I think for me, I kind of like, I don't prep myself for anything. When I get triggered and I'm in the moment, I'm getting triggered. These days, I try to get down to the drop into my body. So because I realize the story, the trigger and interaction is in my head, and I'm feeling anxious and this and that. And if I am aware, if I'm lucky and become aware of that trigger and I'm getting anxious, I try to be like kind of orient myself and then be present a little bit more, and then drop into the sensations in my body. And sometimes even I forget to do the 3x3 breath, but just dropping into the body makes me feel much calmer and grounded. And what happens, it's just crazy. All of a sudden my breath regulates automatically by itself. Interesting. I'm experimenting with that these days. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I remind myself that curious, open-ended questions, just keep asking them. Because if something gets me triggered, then I'll just go and ask questions to somebody else and get them talking, and not focus on the negative, but focus on communication and getting to know that other person a little bit better. And usually that alleviates a lot of my own judgment. And so it helps me. But all the techniques that you've mentioned help in the long run. Are there any last comments about before we enter this holiday season?
Just good luck with the holidays.
Just have fun, just have fun.
Laugh,
Yeah, just
have fun.
Just have fun. And then, if you take it seriously and if you're taking personally, use some of these techniques we shared. And if it's a very big one, go to our website, risetorealize.com, and fill out a contact form. Somebody will be in touch with you within 24 hours, so you can get prepared for major gatherings, major events and triggers. Other than that, just be.
And I just wanted to add that we didn't really address grief during the holidays, but I know that's a stressor for a lot of people. And so certainly as Arda said, through the website. If that's your particular stressor for the holidays, we probably didn't address it today, and we can certainly help you out through another venue.
Also, a lot of these meditations and breathing exercises are on Insight Timer under Arda Ozdemir. So Ozdemir, sorry. Ozdemir, Arda, go ask Arda. Ozdemir, and they're wonderful. They have music and they're relaxing and very professionally done. So visit Insight Timer. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
Elizabeth. Thank you, John, Beth.
All right.
John, don't go away.
I know, I'm staying with